Thank you everyone for coming for what's the first of our TLH Conversations for 2019. And we're delighted to have with us a dear friend Nadine. And note before we start that this was a coincidence.
Not coordinated.
Yeah, we didn't coordinate it. But she did tell me that if she doesn't like my question, she has the right not to answer, which I think is fair.
Right?
Yeah, right.
Right. So if you find a awkward silence, you'll know.
I'm not saying
yeah,
anything.
she just doesn't want to speak. So I don't think I need to introduce to any of you Nadine Kanso. All of you know her, I'm sure, and she's a multi-dimensional artist and designer and has built an iconic brand over the last 12 years here in Dubai. I'm going to start with a small anecdote and then we'll dive a little bit into her journey. So I actually remember the first time getting in contact with Nadine, not directly, but through her work. I was with my wife in Jumeirah at Sauce, and we saw some of her beautiful pieces. And it struck us immediately when we walked in, obviously for the beauty of the pieces and how delicate they were. And one thing that struck me was how playful the brand and the typography seemed. So can I just ask you, is that playfulness specifically reserved for Bil Arabi as your brand, or is that you feel part of your general artistic expression?
I'm happy that you said it's playful, although I think it's kind of more artistic.
Yes.
And I thought you were going to say that you met me with the Quadro Gallery as a photographer, but obviously not.
Well, I met you as a photographer, yes, with Quadro, but I met your work before I met you, so it sort of superseded you for a little while.
That's good. Playful, I would say, I wouldn't call it playful.
Okay.
I would say it's quite right to the point. I try a lot of always and to divert from what's
Expected.
What's expected, but keeping it classic, keeping it chic, keeping it to the point, and probably this is what I would describe as what you've seen.
Yeah,
playful is not.
It's not the word that you. Well, I think maybe playful is not exactly the word what I meant. I guess I felt that was just a personal view.
Yeah.
It's not doesn't necessarily represent what.
Maybe because you saw calligraphy done in a different way
Yes,
that was not
exactly.
done before.
Exactly.
I would say.
So maybe it was unexpected in that sense.
Exactly.
Okay. Walk us, Nadine, a little bit just to the background. So you grew up in Lebanon, went to university there in Beirut, and then lived in a few places, including Budapest and Montreal.
I lived in Montreal, I lived in Prague, Czech Republic. I lived most of my life in Beirut.
In Beirut. And then you moved here. So first of all, why did you move here?
I followed the husband.
You followed the husband. Okay. So you followed the husband here, and then walk us through from following the husband to Bil Arabi. So,
Okay,
that journey.
so I obviously lived in Beirut all my life. I studied in LAU at the time, Lebanese American University, and moved to Montreal, married, moved to Montreal, moved to Prague, had my kids there, and then almost 19 years ago we moved to Dubai, following the husband.
Mm.
So when I came here, I started working on my photography.
Okay, so that was the first.
I used to take pictures long before.
Okay.
And then I got approached by a magazine. I was working with a magazine, so it was more on a commercial level. And then from there, I started working on my photography more, obviously, like more as an artist. And I was approached to do so back in London at the V&A.
Yes.
Bil Arabi came to life actually after 9/11. So 9/11 was a big.
So was it something you were thinking about pre 9/11 and then sort of 9/11 accelerated, or actually in your head it started as a concept after 9/11?
It started.
Okay, almost as a reaction.
I don't want to get it too political.
No, it's not.
I come from a household that is very much Arab nationalist.
Okay.
Arabic is a huge part of our lives, the identity, and all of that. So when people think that I've created a brand because it's a commercial, or it has nothing to do.
It was really from the heart at that. It was an emotional expression.
It was a statement. It was about my identity that I felt actually undermined a lot, especially when I would hear people saying, I'm not going to name my kids, Jad, Omar, whatever, because we live in the US, because we live in Europe, because we live in, it's going to be too...
a name that works in both countries, it's not too Arabized.
Too Arab, So I felt people are moving away from their identity, and that kind of like really struck a chord, and I felt really, really bad. I felt that we're going to be slowly losing a lot of things. Already we lose a lot of things, a lot of our identity.
Were you not, sorry to interrupt, I hope you don't mind, were you not worried at the time that that would be seen as too political, or that would impact as the brand, impact the brand, or, because it was obviously a big sort of anti-Arab sentiment.
And this is why people like me or anybody else who has anything to do with this part of the world needs to speak out and say what matters. If you are attacked, you just not sit down and not fight back. So the way I saw it is, how am I going to express myself and make that statement, whether in photography or in,
any of the mediums.
Yeah, exactly, because I never thought people would ask me, you're a jewelry designer. I would say, I'm not a jewelry designer.
I'm an artist.
I studied graphic design. I like photography. I work in photography. And because of that, I wanted to express myself. And it's like, okay, what am I going to do? How am I going to express that? You're going to buy a picture of like a work I've done. But until I become too famous, you know how artists are.
Absolutely.
They're for them to express themselves and be known, it's a longer journey.
Absolutely.
So how am I going to get my message to a wider audience in a shorter period of time? So this is why I started the T-shirts with the cushions, with the scarves that said Bil Arabi, talk to me in Arabic, Bil Arabi, and all of that.
Which are now like vintage pieces, by the way.
Some people steal.
I'm a proud owner of one of the T-shirts, but and I'm very, very possessive of it. If anyone, the household tries to, it's one T-shirt. I wish I had more, but
so this is how it started. This is how I wanted to express myself, and I said like, okay, why are we wearing our letters in a different language? Why don't we wear them in Arabic? And this is how
the brand started.
There was no brand.
No, actually, I mean the concept started.
This is
and
how
it became
the concept started. I did my first letter Noon, and I wore it, and then Zayan saw it from Sauce, and she goes like, you need to elaborate on that. Well, how about you put some of your pieces in the store? I said like, okay, fine, but then like, I need a packaging, I need a brand name, I need to make this more like, a brand.
Yeah.
Not really a brand, but
no, a brand. I mean, at the end of the day,
you need simple things.
Sure.
And
they're not that simple.
No, they're not that simple. Back to your kind of question, I put myself in a box.
Okay. Interesting.
Doing Bil Arabi, which is only in Arabic letters. So how creative can you be with a letter? 12 years down the road, if you are creative, you are creative.
But you've managed to reinterpret it in very different ways, and
exactly.
I'm going to get to that.
So you have to push more and more.
And the appeal is not, to me, I mean, what we see today, certainly even the last few years, it's not just to Arab customers or people who speak Arabic or appreciate. I think there's another appeal to even non-Arab speakers.
There's a beauty about the
absolutely,
not only
that
the
appreciate the calligraphy, the typography, the art of it. You don't have to even understand what it means.
Absolutely.
And are you conscious of that now? So when you think about designing a new collection, say, do you have a particular target in mind in terms of an audience? You don't.
No, I don't.
You don't think of it this way?
No, I don't think of it this way. Jewelry is not seasonal, which is a good thing. But at the same time, you need to follow the feel of things, what's happening in the market, what's happening in the jewelry. I'm not kind of a follower. I do things because of being an artist and a creative person, you do things because you love to do them. And you wanna design them. This is why at the beginning I used to design like 6-7 collections
at the
same time. Now it's more, with time I've learned that it has become a business. So I need to be, conscious of how much I can spend on it. How, a lot of things came.
You learned as you went.
Absolutely.
And just for I'm sure there are others, and maybe even in the audience, that aspire to one day be also, or think of themselves as designers or young designers. So your process in thinking about new collections, so you don't have anything particular in mind. You're kind of inspired in a certain direction. Obviously, follow also trends and what's happening in the market.
Absolutely, but obviously, it's the letter itself.
No, of course.
So I have to work that letter over and over and over again in so many ways, keeping the brand identity and ethics of it, if you want, the look of it, so you're not going to see me doing something totally, off.
But going back
unless Khalid Shafar asks me to.
Khalid Shafar is
Yeah. He sneaked in.
Oh, he's back.
Bespoke.
So we've seen some of your designs where it's almost kind of became a more blurred or morphed. So do you feel it always has to be the letter, or as now the brand or the Bil Arabi as a concept has been very established and well known, that you could morph away from that and use it as almost a philosophical platform for other designs?
I can, definitely, and this is where designers have to strive and move forward, is not to get, you have your DNA, which is great, and this is how people will get to know you, and this is how you make your mark. But at the end of the day, you need to evolve. And in my case, working on, let's say, like, this is what I think you were referring to,
yes,
is where you don't see the letter anymore.
Exactly.
Actually, it becomes a form, it becomes a shape.
It's still very much Nadine, but it's
but I mean,
Arabi,
you have to know that this is a letter Ain.
Yes.
If you go back to other pieces within the collection, but definitely you need to go out of your box when it comes to creativity. You keep things the way they are, but obviously you need to evolve in that direction.
When you think about, just a final question about the process, a new collection, do you test drive any particular pieces, through friends or through the market or through some of the retailers you work with, or what's your concept of this could be a huge hit, or how do you trust your instinct?
No, I mean, as I said, I do things because I love to do them.
Yeah.
But sometimes you think, if you look at stars, you think everybody's gonna love to wear a star. But then you do a full collection and then you realize, no, it's not working. That was a while back. And then it works 2 years later when you start removing it from, the shelves and putting something else instead of it. People start asking for it. It's like, okay, that's interesting. So you never really, I don't test drive anything. I test drive them.
Yeah, your own instincts. And when you say working or not working, is it an expression of how much it sells, or it is? It is. Because certain pieces might get a lot of media attention, but they don't sell that well because
Absolutely, whether it's price point, design, all of that comes to obviously.
And are you conscious in each collection to keep a mix of, higher price point and maybe more?
Obviously, before we used to, I didn't, because I used to do things because I love to do them, and they were usually very big pieces. So you realize today with the market and everything that, and obviously knowing the business, seeing what people do, what other brands do in terms of the upper level like jewelry and the lower price point pieces. So definitely now I do have a mix. So every collection has the higher price point and the lower price point. Like now here you're going to find the small items
we have here.
Exactly. The stars, which are doing better than
they were
3 years before. So obviously you have the higher price point and the lower price point.
Makes sense.
Obviously earrings, rings, the whole category.
Just moving on from here, you mentioned this briefly. In 2006, you participated in an exhibition at the Victoria and Albert Museum, V&A Museum in London, called Arabi's Me, correct?
Exactly.
Do you feel in any way that was an inflection point, or
Absolutely.
And how so? Is it just because of the prestige of where it was staged, or because it's in London, or because of the reception you got, or?
It's not that. I think you got a chance in life, and to show at the V&A, even if it was for a night, it's a huge deal.
Sure.
And obviously, it's either you take it or you don't. So I decided to, this was my chance. I'm not going to go back home and sit and do nothing. And I'm like, I got my 5 minutes of fame. I'm going to pursue that, and I'm going to make something out of it.
So it encouraged you in many ways.
Actually, it was challenging.
Okay.
Because you got to a point, then you need to do more. And you need to do more.
And you're out there now.
Definitely. And this is something I tell designers, that it's not because you got the success of one collection, whether jewelry, furniture, fashion. It's the
persistence.
Persistent. You have to keep on doing what you need to do, creating, evolving,
and consistency.
Definitely.
You're obviously one of the first sort of well-known entrepreneurs, because ultimately that's what your business is, that moved to D3. There are others here in the district and all around town. In Dubai, generally we speak a lot about entrepreneurship and what it means. Just some of your own thoughts in your journey over this last 12 years. What have you found challenging in terms of your business? Was it, so we spoke a little bit about the creative process, but then there's many other concepts. You alluded to some of it. You were just talking about small things like packaging, and there's also, if you need be fundraising and business elements and distribution of your brand. What have you found to be things that were challenging in that process for you personally?
Obviously, putting myself in the category of Bil Arabi, that's already a challenge. It's not a challenge in the region. Obviously, people like it and relate to it. People who lived here, even if they are foreigners, they relate also to it. And when they leave, they want to take something from this part of the world, and this is what they take. Whether it's
fantastic gifting item,
or something else. What I find challenging is actually the laws. Sometimes. I'm not talking about licenses and all of that, but I'm talking about like copywriting and
No, it's a very important point.
Protecting your brand, protecting your designs, protecting all of this is what's challenging. And people are not aware that it's not right. There are ethics, and this is where I struggle actually, that it's not okay to copy people.
Yeah.
Inspiration is something, and copying is something.
And it's a thin line, right?
It's a very thin line, and it's very ethical, and sometimes people don't understand that. And they think that, I get a lot of like messages saying, oh, you inspired us, and it's something like I've done. I was like, okay, thank you. No, I'm not happy about that. Definitely, it's a you would say it's a sign of success, which
there's some flattery into that.
I am, but
not when it threatens your business or becomes
and obviously I do not own the Arabic language. I do not own the Arabic calligraphy. I do not. Let's be clear on that.
Sure.
But when it's something very close to what I do, no. Then this is one of the challenges that I get, especially when you build a business and you don't have. It's not a big entity.
Sure, it's a starting operation.
Exactly. So you don't have people funding you or supporting you. You don't have the legal team to go after these people. Okay, you send them a letter of intent. You ask your lawyers to follow up. You're not going to take everyone to court at the end of the day. When you do that, you're going to lose on your creativity. You're going to lose on your business.
Takes away from your time.
Exactly.
Have you found that the issue is more that the laws are not in place, or people don't have respect for things like copyright and IP?
I think it would be plus minus both ways.
Okay.
Both ways.
So the laws can be improved. Obviously.
The laws definitely can be improved. They need to be more vigilant about it, and people need to be more ethical.
So you're one of the artists in general that I think have embraced social media in a very successful way. I mean, I think I'd say you're not using kind of, to my knowledge, too much of the old kind of channels of distribution. You're embracing how have you found that in terms of how that represents your brand?
I mean, I like obviously to engage on social media, but it's not my priority.
Okay.
This is why I have two phones. One I use for social media and stuff like that. So I'm not stuck to it.
Yeah.
Because it's obviously.
That should be on it all day.
Confusing. Definitely it helps the brand. Definitely it puts you out there. Having two accounts, which makes it like fun and more serious. And it's funny how you see things on Instagram. We do a lot of business through Instagram, which is great. Nowadays, it's more than what actually the stores do for us.
That's amazing. Well, that's sort of what I meant by embracing. I mean, in a way that
exactly.
It's a very successful channel for you,
But obviously we need to go to be more visible online. We sell through UNAS, which is doing great, but also in Saudi. But we need more channels. We need more online businesses. You know.
Have you found that those channels are enabling you to access customers that you wouldn't because of the physical location? In other words, you're here, say, or maybe you're known here, or say in Lebanon, other parts of the Arab world, but you might all of a sudden start getting customers from...
We get customers from Australia,
yeah, that's
from
what I mean.
the US, from obviously London and all.
So is that an online social media phenomenon, or that would have happened anyway?
No, I think it's an online, because obviously now you know how things are. You open your phone, if you follow certain people, you're going to have a certain feed.
Correct.
On your... we're not going to get into the whole conspiracy.
Correct. No, without the conspiracy.
Yeah, so obviously you get a lot from social media, you get a lot from online businesses and all of that. Definitely we need to embrace it, and definitely we need to engage with it. And it's a big part of what we do today.
Yeah, and I think
whether we like it or not.
It's also, in some ways, frankly, a more efficient distribution channel, right?
It is definitely. But obviously when it comes to jewelry, we have a lot of obstacles. So basically, you have to have insurances. Our shipping costs much more than any other item that you would ship. A lot of companies do not carry jewelry. The minute you say it's gold, they will tell you we don't touch it. And we don't want to go into we give the less value of it for them to, and we would not want to say it's an accessory unless we really have to. So this is why this is actually one of the challenging things, and this is something we're working on now, to see who would be able to carry the brand without these headaches.
And you've expanded in other countries as well, where you have...
No, actually.
So you do not from a physical store, it's only been
We
here.
were in London, we were in Hong Kong, but obviously the same
same retail.
store, but they've closed down, so we're not.
Okay. Are you thinking at some point of expanding?
Definitely we want to expand. Obviously I don't have a big team. A lot of people think I have a big team. We are only like 3 people.
Including you.
Including me. Yeah. So, but we're efficient, I think,
very efficient.
I hope. Obviously we have 2 workshops. This is where a lot of people say, never say that you are only a company of 3 people. It's like, why?
I think there's a lot of beauty in that in a way. I mean,
absolutely.
It also enables you to control, I think.
We keep it real.
You keep it real, and you also, I think, have a high control over the quality and the process. And there's an intimate relationship with customers as well that
Definitely.
I think you wouldn't have.
We do a lot of customization, so obviously we have a lot of back and forth with a lot of people. This is why it goes from Instagram to WhatsApp, from WhatsApp to a phone call, to emails. So it's not also like online business is not probably 100% something that will fit the brand, because we do a lot of customization.
You were presumed you started from home, correct?
Oh,
At the beginning?
For a long
time. For a very long time. What made you say enough of that? I'm going to now have my own studio. Was it that the children grew up? Was it that you felt you have the business has matured, the combination? Because one of the things we didn't talk about...
All of the above, I would say. I mean, I worked 9 years at home in the garage. I put the cars out. Most people know that. I had the guys actually come and work with me at home.
Yeah.
We used to invoice, obviously, through our workshops, because we didn't have a license and all of that. And then D3 came to life, and it was quite an interesting project. We thought it would be the place to be. And obviously the kids grew up. Because at times it would be the kids, the teacher of the kids, my mom, the hairdresser, the cook.
No, absolutely, and I think that's
driver, everything. Like 12 people at home was like, no.
So in many ways your team here is far smaller. You get a lot more done. You get a lot more done.
We have to, and obviously it has been a great journey. It has been a great move to be in D3, because it gave me I wouldn't say a vision, but it put me in the right place. Yeah. So I have to come to work. We meet people at our offices, and I made sure that the first year everyone would come to the office.
I remember that.
It's like, you want to meet me? I'm not going to any coffee place. Just come over. And
you have a beautiful office.
Thank you. So it was a big leap. it gave the brand a lot of, credit. Although it was there, people knew about it. It was already established 9 years back, but still, it was that jump, and I would say I'm very happy of that jump.
Let's shift for a minute to your other passion, which is photography. You spoke about. So, as you said, that's how we met at Bashar's gallery, and you've exhibited at Quadro, you've exhibited with Isabel as well, and the former Isabel, pre-IVDE. B21 and IVDE and Quadro. Tell us a little bit about that passion, and are you work on that in parallel with your other designs and jewelry design, or is that just one sort of how do you think about photography versus
it's a
product design?
I would say it's a different process. I wouldn't say it's a different process of thinking. It's obviously it's the same passion.
Sure.
It's the same, you give your heart to something, you need to do it, you love to do it, and you keep on doing it. But obviously, the process of photography is a longer process. To come up with the right theme, to translate it to photography. I'm not just a painter. And to make sure that whatever I want to say is the right thing that I'm taking picture of.
Sure.
And my message is very clear when I show this body of work. So this is why it would start like in bodies of work, socio-political, because it's something I relate to. Then it was more about Beirut, because where I grew up and all the issues that we have. Exhibitions like about Dubai, because it's a place I not only live but have great affinity with. It's home actually.
Sure.
So for me, it's a longer process. I still do it, which I'm supposed to have a show soon, but obviously, being a designer and having your own business and having a brand,
it's not the only thing you're working on.
It takes a lot from your time, and then for photography, you just need to shut down and not talk to anyone and work on your thing, and that's very hard for me to do when your business is running on a day-to-day basis. So basically, it's like phone calls, orders,
operations.
Exactly, operations.
When you think about photography, is it that you put a body of work and then start thinking, I have now enough material for an exhibition, or do you think about a theme and then start taking pictures for that?
I think of
a theme, and then you start sort of putting yourself to work on that theme for a period of time.
No, otherwise, my personal opinion, if you just have material, anyone can do anything with it. You create a story, and then it becomes, you know how to market it, you know how to tell it, then it becomes a body of work. For me, I have to think about it deeply, and I have to be convinced. So if you come and say, what do you see in this? I need to genuinely feel and tell you what I feel and what I'm trying to express and what's my statement in this piece. It's not just like, oh, that's a nice building.
Sure.
It doesn't work this way, at least not for me.
And how do you think, I mean, I'm going to get in a second into collaborations, but I want to talk about inspiration, because one of the things that we hear in a lot of these talks, and when I speak even through the Lighthouse with other entrepreneurs, is one of the things that's lacking in Dubai at sometimes, versus, for example, where I grew up in Beirut or where I grew up in Cairo, is maybe a larger community of artists and designers and so on. So you have this constant brainstorming. That has started to happen over the last few years here. Certainly D3 was a big move in that direction. How do you think about that? You have, I mean, in more so probably in photography in Beirut, for example, there's now a very well-known, group of. Are these people you connect with to brainstorm, to think about, or is that something that you feel you need to be kind of do it in solitude?
No, I mean, when as an artist, you always have to express what you really feel. So it's not about brainstorming. But obviously, when I have an idea in mind, and
are there go-to people you call, or?
Yeah, I mean, I have obviously Khalid is one of my not only dear friends but my travel companions. But no, I mean, Khalid is a great person to discuss these things. Eileen, sometimes I ask her opinion. Raida, another friend of mine, Rasha Shah.
Okay. So you have a group of people.
I have a group of people to whom I refer and go back to, because you, as an artist and a designer, you always need to, you go ahead and do your own thing, definitely. You have to follow your gut feeling, definitely. But sometimes these people bring something else to the table.
Sure.
They will show you things that you did not see, or you were going ahead with, but it's a big mistake. So it's a good thing to have these people. And Dubai is as any other city. You have a city. So basically, you have these creatives here.
Yes.
It's just to know who is the person to just like knock on their
How to
door
tap
and
them.
talk about it. And obviously, you need to have the same kind of not mindset.
Yeah,
but,
mindset. You need to be on the same wavelength.
Exactly.
Okay, one final question, and then we'll open it to the audience. You have been known, which I think is an amazing thing, for your collaborations and generally being very, very collaborative in all your work. You've worked with architects, we've worked with very well-known brands, from the Louis Vuittons to the Gucci's. How do you think about collaborations in general? Is that something you just get approached and you say yes or no, or you seek them out?
I don't seek anyone out.
Okay.
It's
a good problem to have.
Absolutely. I mean,
how do you filter then this process?
Okay. Obviously, I'm not a big brand like
Sure.
Gucci or
Sure.
like Louis Vuitton. But when they approach me, I'm not going to say no. It's
Sure.
something you just like put your heart into it. It's like.
But you've also done it with other entrepreneurs, with architects.
Definitely, if you mean like smaller entities.
Yes.
In terms of, but I need to love what they do.
Okay.
I need to want to do that thing. Let's say with Fadi Sarid.
I was going to say.
Okay, I love furniture. You know, he approached me. I was very happy to collaborate with him. So it takes away like me doing my own furniture line, kind of.
Sure.
So
Maktabi, you worked with them as well.
We've done a carpet, a beautiful carpet. It was a specific carpet. I've done a carpet before, which was not a great carpet. So you also learn with whom to collaborate, with whom not to collaborate. The only thing is when you get to a certain standard, you cannot go down. You need to move forward, collaborate with bigger entities for your own good. It's not because you don't want to collaborate with younger or upcoming.
No, sure, you set a certain standard.
Exactly, unless they bring something totally like different or to the table. Then yes,
Sure.
why not?
Sure. Okay, thank you. Shall we take a few questions from the audience?
Please.
Yes, sir.
So Nadine, you mentioned that you did graphic design in university. I just wanted to understand, did you follow that passion? Obviously you followed with your design, but was there a reason why you didn't do graphic design specifically, or did you move away from that?
No, I've worked in graphic designs for a few years back in Beirut after finishing university. When I traveled, then I worked in retail, I worked in fashion, back in Montreal. Prague, I didn't do anything. I got my kids, they were a handful. So coming here, I decided to go back to photography, which I also learned back in university. I did graphic design and communication arts, radio, TV, film. So, which gave me the background of all of that. I don't do graphic design now because I don't have the time.
Are you passionate about it?
I am passionate. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was one of the first ones that did graphic design back in. We're not gonna talk dates. Please. Back then, no computers. It was all with your rotring pens, ink, and all of that. Everything was like handmade with your hands. So.
Please.
You mentioned that you have seen a lot of other jewelry designs that have been heavily inspired, let's say, by your work. What do you think are the necessary steps that can be taken, either from a government perspective or a T3 perspective, or is it an industry policing itself perspective to discourage outright copying and encourage people to use their own creativity instead of someone else's?
Obviously, there should be a lot of things. I mean, us as designers, we do have our lawyers, but we're not going to call them every time I see a post on Instagram. I mean, I'll be just doing that. So obviously, like for D3, I don't know if they want to do that themselves or help young designers do that. But definitely one thing I do not appreciate is when the media or other people tap other people on the back and say, you've done a good job, without actually
at the very least, that should be public shaming.
Crediting the original people. So somebody like Shams Al-Abbar, she created a line of jewelry. It's Arabic, it's beautiful. It has nothing to do with my work. I cannot but be respectful. But if I have somebody who just like took almost the same font as I am, you know, I just like, did relatively the same. I'm not gonna be not happy, and I'm definitely not happy seeing all the, you know, all the magazines and all the editors and all, I don't know who, just like clapping to these. So it's the designer's obviously responsibility to make sure that he has a legal team or someone to follow up on that, not lose his time on it. The government here definitely to engage more on this and protect young entrepreneurs or people who don't have enough actually finance, resources to just like, you know, follow on these things. It's a lot of money. I mean, Louis Vuitton, they have just a division who just
goes after people.
If anybody does, you know, something close to that, and they're like, they go and they kill them. Yeah, we don't have these resources.
I go to tourism. I go to tourism, and I'm sure that is helpful. When you go to each and every visitor line, they want to go there. The whole industry of gold is made on copying brands, and they are so proud to copy of this and this brand. Oh, famous brand. So imagine big brand they being copied. And there are people they are there, they're waiting what the brand what they do, and they say this is the last
Yeah, of course. I'm sure the government here has a lot of people they follow on a lot of things for like a lot of big brands, but still you need to be tighter. Even not only in Dubai, if we want to be fair, even in Italy, even in Lebanon, France, anywhere you go, you'll find fake Prada bags. You find fake.
But then you become happy when they see people. They say, "No, I'm not gonna buy the copy." That's not fair.
This is what we hope.
So glad to see someone saying that.
If you can't afford it, don't buy it. I mean, don't buy a copy of it, because you're encouraging. You know, it's not only about the ethics. You are hurting other people in business. You know, I mean, you're hurting people like me more than people like with big brands.
No, but the concept is the same. It's still
definitely yes.
taken away from. Yes,
fight,
you don't have the resources.
You know, I don't have the resources to fight these things. These guys, they can come and kill.
Have you seen this being a very serious problem in your particular practice?
It can be a serious problem, but I ignore it.
Okay.
It annoys me, but I ignore it. I need to move forward. I need to be more creative. I need to, you know, be above all of this.
Sure.
Thank you. I have 3 questions for you. The first one is very easy. The first one is, what is the first Arabic word that you thought when you were creating jewelry? Maybe not the title.
I mean, I created the first noon, but a word that I use a lot is hub, which means love. It's kind of love and habbak. Hub and habbak are kind of signature of the brand.
And if I have to ask you for a new word for 2019, what would be the word that you would use in Arabic? If you would have the chance to today create a new jewelry piece, what would be that word?
I wouldn't say a new word. It's a word I've used not long ago, which is al-azima, which means the willpower. I think today we need a lot of like willpower, especially with a lot of things happening around us, whether well, in the economy, obviously.
It's a reaction to Donald Trump.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm just joking. It's an antidote to al-azima.
Yeah. Al-azima means like the willpower. So you need the willpower to survive. You need the willpower to keep positive. You need the willpower to love and move forward. So I would say that.
I think that's a great slogan for 2019.
Well, I have a question which is something you didn't touch on, but something that I know about the industry, which I'm sure you'll agree. As a local designer, let's say you would be treated differently by shops or e-commerce sites in the region, not even just in Dubai. So maybe, they would expect to make a higher margin or take you on consignment. And I've worked with a lot of designers, and I know this is very frustrating if you're trying to grow a brand, because let's say if it's a similar brand based in Spain, it will be treated differently. So how do you manage that, or how, do you have a foot to kind of negotiate, or what are your thoughts on that?
At the beginning, it was for you to make a name or to make business or anything, you had to abide by the rule of the stronger person. So you would agree on a lot of things. Even today with the market, you have to agree on things that you would probably not want to agree. It is sad actually to be treated not as equally as other designers. So basically, when somebody Blooming Days, Harmony, whatever we sell at, they would buy designers from abroad, but they would not buy designers that are locally made or are locally based. And this is actually kind of disrespectful, because you work hard, you put your own money, and being on consignment is a big deal, especially in jewelry. You have a stock that you need to manage, you have a stock that you need to invest in. It's a lot of money. The good side about consignment is you can control your stock. So basically, you remove it, you take it, you send it somewhere else, you do a show, you do not need to produce. So you always need to be kind of smart about things. The only thing would be is if you're selling abroad, my way of doing business is I do consignment in the UAE, I do not do consignment elsewhere.
Which makes sense, I think. Makes
because
business sense.
It's a headache, even headache to.
And just when things you discover, shipping costs, insurance,
stock reports,
yeah,
your pieces, you paid, not paid. Do you have this piece? No, we lost it. It was like, stuff like that. So, but yeah, I wish that everybody has a certain.
And I think the operational
part
of it, people really, we have a small design store here, and then obviously the F&B side, and the operational side consumes, as you were saying, so much of our time. People don't realize how much goes into it.
And customization.
And the customization element. Yeah, in your case even more. And gifting is very much customized.
Absolutely, which gives the brand obviously an edge.
Yes.
Hi. Great Coco Chanel, of course, said that unless you're not imitated, you haven't reached any point in your career. But I'm sitting here looking at you as an extraordinary testimonial of your collection. My question is, what do you see when you see your pieces worn by your customers?
And there's quite a few here.
I'm very happy because it gives me, because they appreciate my work and they appreciate the beauty of my identity, my region, my language. That's a very big plus.
And doesn't that feed your creativity? And
that definitely it does. Because today I'm not working to sell my friends. I want my message to reach a wider audience, wider people. I want people to love what I do for what it is, that they've lived here so long. They've traveled, they've seen things, they've understood the culture, and this makes me very happy.
And I feel they have delivered to you this. Thank you.
Exactly. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. In the spirit of gifting, Nadine, we have a very small present for you.
An Arabic book?
It's a book, that relates to your practice. It's not in Arabic, but you can open it and see for yourself. And you're welcome. For all of you, we have a selection of Nadine's beautiful pieces here, and they're going to be in display and for sale in the Lighthouse for a period to come. So please take a look and tell your friends. And thank you everyone for coming. We have those talks almost every month, so please follow us on social media and come to the next one as well. And thank you, Nadine, for a beautiful hour. So, part of inspiration for future works. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.